Hello, everybody, and welcome to the SD Times Live microwebinar series with Melissa. Today, we'll be talking about achieving a 360-degree customer view with custom matching strategies. In this 10-minute microwebinar, you'll learn why it's important to make data matching part of your data quality regimen. This is the 5th episode in this series, so just for a quick recap, in episode 1, we talked about document verification. In episode 2, we talked about electronic identity verification. In episode 3, we talked about national watch list screening. And in episode 4, we talked about golden records. Those videos are all on our website, so you can go back and watch those if you missed out. Now with me today is Tim Sidor, Data Quality Analyst at Melisa. And now I'll kick things over to him.
Thank you, Jenna. Previously, we discussed the importance of addressing the issue of duplicate records in a database and resolving it by creating criteria for choosing a master record or golden record, and at the same time, how to gather data points from different records in those found match groups, sometimes called survivorship or record consolidation. But we didn't discuss the importance of, or maybe I should say the most important aspect of record matching and consolidation, and that's how do we settle on the rules which determine which records fall into a match group, or when and how should we customize our matching strategy? We're always asked, what's the best matching strategy for us to use? And we're always telling our clients, there is no right or wrong answer. It really depends on your business case. You can be very loose with your rules, or you can be very tight. So let's take a scenario on the loose side of that scale. You have too many unwanted records. Here it'd be okay to implement a really loose strategy. The thinking being, so what if you flag too many records for removal? Your goal may have been to avoid contacting that same high-end client twice, which could possibly lead to a dissatisfied and lost customer. Or maybe you're trying to catch customers who vary their contact information just enough to thwart being flagged as someone who already responded to a rewards claim or sweepstakes or marketing contest. So taking the liberty of removing potential real matches with a loose custom set of rules is desired in this case. On the other end of that scale, what if you want to implement some of that golden record and survivorship, prioritization and consolidation logic? In this case, you would want to create very tight rules. You don't want to place false duplicates into the same group. You surely don't want to create or update a master record with data that belongs to a different person. So here, accuracy is the most overriding or important factor. So customizing your match criteria by tightening up the process would be done here. Okay, well, how can this customization be achieved? For loose processes, one way is to use fuzzy algorithms. We know mistakes are injected into your database via data entry typos or slightly different formats in data. And applying fuzzy algorithms are a good way to compensate when the data can't be corrected. And that may mean using fuzzy algorithms to catch variations in contact names or companies, for example, John and Jean, things of that nature. Another way of applying loose rules may be to create a rule set that uses multiple or simultaneous conditions at once. We call this concurrent matching, where the rules act as logical OR conditions. So you match on name and phone, or let's match on name and email, or let's match on name and address, for example. Both of these strategies will result in more records being flagged as duplicates and a smaller number of records output to the next step in your data flow. You do this knowing that you're asking the underlying engine to do more work, to do more comparisons. And so overall, throughput on the process may be slower, but secondary to removing those possible duplicates in this case. On the opposite side, anytime you need to be extremely conservative on how you group records is when to use a tight or very tight matching strategy. Examples are if you're rolling up individual investment account data or political campaign contribution data, you wouldn't want to group by address or match by address. You'd use something tighter like first name and last name and address, all required. And changing that to first name and last name and address and phone number is even tighter. You would also avoid multiple simultaneous conditions, removing these logical OR conditions we discussed in the loose section. So creating a single condition with more logical and requirements is tighter. You'll get more matches, or you'll get less matches, excuse me, but they'll be more accurate. One final consideration in customizing match strategies is whether the process is a real-time to-do process or a batch process. When running a batch process, once records are grouped, that's it. There's really no way of resolving them, as there might be groups of 8 or 38 records in the group due to those advanced loose strategies. So you probably want to get that strategy down pat before applying that to production data or large sets of data. However, if matching is done in a real-time or point of entry situation where maybe you want to see if an incoming record already exists or matches someone in the database, well, then you can run those simultaneous conditions, some containing fuzzy logic properties, maybe in a cascading fashion, and then evaluate the results. For example, a matching strategy where you have 3 conditions that are loose, tighter, and very tight. When a match is identified by all those conditions, that's a true match, or you can deem that a true match. But if another group is only matched by the loose condition, well, then that's maybe not a true match. You may need to evaluate or act accordingly. So in conclusion, or the takeaway here is, it's really critical to decide based on why you're performing a deduplication process, whether to implement a tight, accurate, fast match code or an advanced, loose, more dupe catching matching strategy. Thank you.
So I think we have a time for a question or two. So can you talk a little bit about what options Melisa offers to customize matching strategies for companies?
Sure. With all distributions of matchup, whether it's enterprise or the programmer's library, we distribute a matchup or a match code rules editor. It's a standalone GUI interface, or it can be programmatically created using the API. And that allows you to create basically any rule set you want that we've kind of, basically touched upon here. So it's standalone, easy to use, and is very flexible in what it allows you to create.
What about other types of customization in the solution?
Well, that's basically where it's done, but the types of customization that interface or tool allows you to is you can select different data types. We've kind of said, okay, you can match on name or name and address or name and company address. There's a lot of different data types, about 20 different fuzzy algorithms you can choose on each of those data types. There are also some other settings. There's swap matching, and there's also those concurrent rule settings where you can have simultaneously these different data types with different fuzzy settings, apply all those at once. So there's a lot of flexibility.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, that's all we have time for today. Remember, you can watch replays of all the videos on sdtimes.com. And if you want to learn more about Melisa, you'll want to head over to melisa.com. And be sure to mark your calendar for November 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern for the final episode of this series, where Tim will be talking about using GPS location to target physical locations. Thanks everyone for tuning in.